What is a poor person hack you picked up during a hard time that you still use today, even if you don't have to? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the Vancher channel. Also, please share your thoughts on this video in the comments. Let's get started. Story 1. Parks and trails are free entertainment that make you healthier and less depressed the more you use them. Next story. Learning to love my crock pot and eating the same meal for an entire week. An amazing money saver, and I still do it because it was an ingrained habit for years. Answer. For a while, I was traveling to the same site every third week, Sunday, Friday, and I stayed in the same hotel. The rooms had a dorm fridge and you could borrow stuff. So I bought a cheap crock pot and told them to put it with the borrow stuff. On my way from the airport, I would stop and get a crock pot meal for the week. My per diem was something like $85 a day, so I was pocketing counting $100 a week. It was a nice bonus and actually easier than going out and getting food after a long day. Next story. Library. My kids ravage through books. We easily save thousands a year using the library. Answer. And learn about all the other services your library offers. Ours has tools, baking supplies, and all sorts of random things also available to loan. I was able to sign up for online classes at my local community college for free through my library account. Wanted to use an expensive software for one personal project, was able to use it on a library computer specifically set up for that kind of project. It's really astounding how many things they have that most people have no idea about. Next story. Help out your neighbors without asking for payment when they're in need and when you are able. I've been showered with free food, things, and acts of service from grateful neighbors. Answer. I got pregnant in grad school, aka the poorest I've ever been in my life. Anyhow, I was in a major U.S. city and frequently perused Craigslist ads for free baby stuff. I responded to one for a few items, and when I showed up, she had more. I was so grateful that I went home and wrote her a thank you note. She later emailed me about even more items, like a bassinet. I'm still so very grateful to her for her generosity. By the time our daughter was a toddler, we were in a much better place financially, and we were able to pay it forward. I didn't sell any of the items I had received for free and gave away most of the ones I actually bought. My daughter is in middle school now, and her outgrown items go through our local Buy Nothing group. We all do better when we help each other out. Next story. Google the fix for something that is broken, and if you think you can do it, try. The amount of crooks in appliance repair is insane. Answer. There's a YouTube video for diagnosing and repairing just about every appliance in your home. I've replaced my freezer's ice maker, my dryer's motherboard, my washer's intake valve, to name a few. Edit. Either there's confusion or I'm being trolled, but it's not one video or channel for all the appliances ever made. You have to search YouTube for your brand, model, and issue. Replace igniter on Samsung model gas oven. Sorry if my wording was confusing. I guess it should read any appliance instead of every. Next story. No dollar days. See how many days you can go without spending. 1. Then try to beat your previous records. Also 3-day 1,000 a year. Answer. Explain this one a bit more. Aren't most people's expenses outside of poverty more cumulative monthly than they are daily? I can go over a week with nothing leaving my checking account easily enough and still spend $10K for the month. It's a nice thought, but there really isn't a day you aren't accumulating spend, even if money isn't changing hands yet, unless you are homeless. Next story. 5 Costco whole chicken, 1X week, top ramen, rice, beans, and eggs. This got me through months of low-income months. It was like 50, 60 for a month of 2 meals a day. Answer. I'm not poor, relatively speaking, but the Costco chicken is one of the many reasons I'm not. When I do a Costco haul, I buy like 6 of them. My wife breaks them down and stores them. The entire thing is a blank protein canvas. Unless you're making something very specific, I have no idea why you'd buy chicken in Costco in any other configuration. It's more work for more money and less chicken, pound for pound, dollar for dollar. Next story. Keep old things as a backup pair. Shoes, glasses, etc. Often I wouldn't have money for new things if something broke. So if a pair of shoes fell apart, I would at least have a crappy pair until I could afford some new ones. Answer. This hits my hoarding gene hard. I understand that most reasonable people wouldn't have a problem keeping a pair of old shoes and ending it there, but I was raised to think I should have backups of my backups. Never get rid of anything, because that one exact time that you have a need for 6 backup pairs of sneakers, you will share the story of your win for decades to come and further justify the behavior. Next story. Peanut butter oatmeal is really cheap calories and nutrition. Chug water with every meal to feel full. Answer: drink a glass of water a minute before you eat. Liquid after you eat squashes the food down and can leave you feeling unfull even if you aren't hungry. A glass of water before will take up room and not squish the food down. You can start paring your meals down to size like this. For added benefit, get smaller plates. Big plates make you think there isn't the same amount of food. The brain is easily fooled. Smaller plates make it look heaped up, so your brain thinks it's a lot and will convince you you're full. Next story. A 50-pound bag of rice in your pantry will pick up a lot of slack in your diet when you're poor. I'm not poor anymore, but I always have a ton of rice at home. Rice and eggs, rice and ground meat, rice and a can of chili, etc. I wasn't always eating good, but I was never hungry. Next story. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, store brand is just as good or the same as name brand. In the case of Kirkland, it might be superior. Beans are a magical food, even better if you make them yourself. Buy a 1 molibero bag of dry beans for 1.25, and that is a good amount of protein and fiber. Answer: I chuckled to myself with the part about the store brands. It is so deeply ingrained in me that I didn't even consider it a hack. Just a universal truth. Beans freeze decently, so you can make a giant batch all at once, then divide and freeze what you don't use right away. I always found cooking them a royal pain, so this helped a lot. Peanut butter was my personal magical food, though. Very filling, decently nutritious, decent amount of protein. Next story. If you are absolutely, for sure, going to overdraw and there's nothing you can do to prevent it, go buy a grocery store gift card before the overdraw hits. Now you have access to food and gas without having to get dinged for multiple overdraft fees before your next paycheck comes in. Just make sure that the total overdraft, including the big bill plus the gift card, doesn't exceed your maximum overdraft. Better still is to not overdraft in the first place. But when you're shoot happens. Answer: overdraw. Contact your bank and let them know you're going to overdraft, and/or contact after. It costs you nothing to call and a decent chance they will reverse it. Not constantly, obviously, but if it is your first or second time of the year, they may. Read a few of the tips in this thread, and many are just be nice. People will be nice in return, which also boils down to just fudge ask for help and don't be a jackass. You lose nothing by asking. That's the poor person life hack. It only works if you aren't known as a horrible person, though. Sorry for some of y'all out there. Next story. Add an egg for nutrition. Got rice and veggies? Those are sides. Fry it with an egg, and that is a good meal. Add a hard-boiled egg to instant ramen for a gourmet experience. A piece of toast with a fried egg is now an open-faced sandwich. Next story. Buy unsold frozen Thanksgiving turkeys. Batch cook and freeze. I've done this several years where I'll buy 12 turkeys, smoke them over a few months, and have meal portions in the deep freeze. It lasts all year, even with trying to keep two boys full. Next story. Save and plant your seeds. Compost and turn your compost regularly. Grow whatever you can and can whatever you can't eat soon. Next story. Shop thrift stores. And when that doesn't work, shop TJ Maxx, Ross, etc. Can generally find quality without a huge cost. Next story. Learned how to fix stuff around the house myself rather than paying someone to do it. YouTube videos are awesome for this. Next story. This isn't peak poor because it's super hard when you are that poor. But buy cheap meat in bulk and individual package it in cheap Ziploc bags to last all month in the freezer. I did have one point in my life I had no water or electricity, so I bought a camp shower and jugs of water to bathe before work. At least I still had my apartment and blankets to keep warm. I charged my phone and laptop at work or in libraries so I could have an alarm and some entertainment through DVDs. As a result, I still make sure my phone is always charged before I leave work, even though now I've got more money than I'll ever know what to do with and no debt. Next story. I grew up in Central Africa where my parents worked at a rural mission hospital. We shipped a lot of canned and dried food from the U.S. and the hospital received donations of medicines through Compassion. The food was always out of date by the time we got it, and the medicines at the hospital were already expired when they were shipped from the U.S. Everything got used. We ate the canned foods even when they tasted a little tinny. The medicines never made people sicker. I think so much gets partied too hard here. Next story. Carry a reusable water bottle everywhere. Don't buy drinks out. Look for free days at museums and free passes for entertainment education, like the zoo or symphony from the library. Check into the health department for free vaccines, testing, and other health care. Next story. When your batteries run out on your remote, just take the batteries out, rub them in your hands for 30-40 seconds to make heat, friction, bam, they work again. Not for long though, but enough to get where you need to go on the TV. Answer. If you have a voltmeter, test the batteries you take out. A lot of times I discover that only one is low and I just need to replace one instead of four. Also, you will find out which devices are really sensitive to battery voltage. Some things stop working when the batteries hit 1.4 volts, but those batteries will still work perfectly well in something else. Next story. Making things from scratch and stocking up on dry, frozen, and canned goods really stretches a dollar. Next story. Learn and be willing to break down your meat and produce yourself. 90C, head of lettuce versus 2.49 for 10 O's of pre-chopped and washed lettuce. My name is Sunil for whole chicken versus 3.99 pound for breast. Answer, unfortunately, being poor takes a lot of time. Roasting a whole chicken takes time. Microwave potatoes are worse for you and more expensive, but peeling and cooking your own takes time. And you're already working long hours, barely making enough to get by. Only rich people have time to cook cheap food. The culinary version of the Samuel Vimes Boots theory of economic unfairness. Vicious cycle. Next story. Free grocery pickup to stretch my budget. It's easier to get as many meals as you possibly can out of 100 building an online cart that totals your items for you than trying to do the can I get cereal if I buy one less pound of chicken math in your head as you walk around the store. Next story. Slide meals. Buy a meat that is on sale first day and a handful of versatile ingredients. Then turn each night's leftovers into the start of the next meal. Tacos, taco soup cheese, dip, mac and cheese casserole. Made a website to automate meal planning for it that I'm working a major overhaul, but if anybody needs it, slidemeals.com. Next story. I stopped eating meat. Lentils, chickpeas, beans, other legumes, and nuts are insanely cheap. Meat is a splurge at this point, even though we can definitely afford it. Next story. Take a spin the night before trash day in the rich neighborhoods. Buy Nothing Groups has made this even easier. Next story. Libby app for your local library. If you have a library card, free audiobooks. Nearly everything I want to listen to. Sometimes you need to wait on a hold, but there is endless stuff in there. Kindle books too. Next story. For under 10, you can make quesadillas for days. Just need the cheapest tortillas, a pack of Boudig turkey ham beef, store-brand shredded cheese, sour cream, and hot sauce. You can make at least 3-4 days of meals. Add in a can of black beans and still under 10. Next story. When my wife and I were struggling early on trying to save for a home, we did a few things and do keep doing it now. 1, we plan our meals out weekly and oftentimes cook 2 meals at dinner, so the next day we just have to reheat and go. It also helps for lunches as leftovers are taken the next day. We found being intentional and having a plan cut down on frivolous spending by eating out. Cooking ahead made it easy when time is a factor. 2, we always keep rice, beans, and some sort of canned veggie stocked up. Days when we didn't have anything, you just cook, mix, season, and toss whatever meat we have into it. Egg works in a pinch. At one point, we basically ate rice, beans, and canned corned peas carrots for 2 weeks straight. 3, don't sleep on rotisserie chickens. 5, at Costco or Sam's Club. When we know money's gonna be tight for a week, you'll buy 2. We will eat one normally with fiancé or sides, then break down the extra and leftovers. They can be used on sandwiches to stretch it out, put into rice bowls, used as ramen topping, and for taco meat if you need a change of pace. 10 in chicken makes for enough meat to get us through a week. It's simple to reheat, and you can diversify easily. My favorite thing is to let it cool, then roll it in a bag to easily remove bones, shred it, then make garlic bread, and top with BBQ to make a chicken barbecue sandwich. The other things you can do is buy a whole chicken. I get a decent sized one for $6-7 at the grocery. Season how you like, then I'll cut up potatoes, grab whatever veggies are on sale, and drop it all into a crock pot and set on low for 8-10 hours. This can feed us about 3 dinners and 3 lunches. If you want to make it a soup, you just add water or stock for more flavor, then just shred the chicken and add it back in, then mix. At one point, we were able to get our food bill down to $120 for 2 weeks. It took a lot of prep, and we ate some of the same stuff over and over, but we were able to save a ton of money. Food is necessary, but you can do necessary and healthy cost effectively by planning and being disciplined. We still follow much of this now, but we are lucky to be able to splurge here and there. Next story. I used to dislike pizzas from the supermarket, but since air fryers, they taste so good. Exactly the same as takeout pizza. I save so much just buying a pizza from the supermarket, adding my toppings to it, olives, more cheese, and man, it tastes so good. Don't forget to drizzle oil for the crispiness. Next story. Spaghetti aglio e olio can be made with noodles, garlic, olive oil, and some seasoning for about 150 per serving. Is so easy to make and tastes like a gourmet meal. It's better with Parmesan, but doesn't need it. Canned vegetables from the dollar store are exactly the same vegetables as the ones from the supermarket and are often half the price. Same with dried pasta. Volunteer somewhere that rescues food. There's usually surplus due to storage issues and its short time span before spoilage. Rescued food is about keeping food out of the landfill and is not exclusively for low-income people. Split the cost of the cheapest Costco membership more some money with a few friends. One person is on card but can bring guests. And buy bulk items to split. Participate in mutual aid. This one is dependent on having a car or a ride and what's available in your area. But if you have pets, go to a farm vet. Basically any vet outside a metropolis area. They often have much cheaper rates and are just as qualified to care for cats and dogs. I drive an extra 15 minutes to a vet just on the other side of my city's perimeter and consistently pay 100s less in comparison to the vets on the other side of the perimeter. Next story. If I use a paper towel and just use it to dry my hands or wipe water off the counter, I leave it out to dry and I use it again for something else. Next story. Invest in spices. Learn how to cook different types of food. A lot of East Indian, Middle Eastern, and Asian South American food is made up of basic ingredients with spices. If you depend on pre-made cooked food, you will always starve. If you learn how to cook, you will never be hungry or poor. Next story. In my early 20s, I got quoted about $5K for an abs module in my car. I watched YouTube videos, went to a junkyard and pulled one, installed it myself and saved about $5K. Since then, I've done brakes, radiators, suspensions, turbos, a trans, timing chain and guide, etc. I'm not a mechanic by any means, but if there's a YouTube video, I can probably do it. I've extended that mentality to home repair, appliance repair. I can do minor plumbing, electrical, woodwork, etc. Every time a need arises, I take a week or so to research the topic, then dive in. The important thing is to understand your limitations. I don't fudge with high voltage electrical or high pressure water or high tension garage door springs or things of that nature. Next story. Learned how to make a basic dal and rice recipe. Cook the red split lentils and add a temper to it. I ate it every day for about a year. I still love it. The trick to making it great is the temper. Heat up the ash so it's hot. Put it the cumin seeds until they're bubbling and turning darker. Then add chopped garlic and dried chili until brown. Then while everything is still ripping hot, pour over the cooked dal. It will sizzle. It basically infuses the dal with the infused oil and makes the dal undergo the Maillard reaction. A 2-kilo bag of split red lentils is enough for 9 days of food. It's $5 Canadian for that bag, but is cheaper if you buy even bigger bags. A 4.4 kilo bag of rice is about 10 and will last about 4 weeks. A jug of oil is about 12 and lasts months. Salt, cumin seeds, garlic, and dried chilies are also cheap. Nutritionally, it's a perfect meal. Potassium, protein, fiber are all there in better quantities than most meals. And the total cost is about 0.88 Canadian per day, 3 meals totaling 2,000 calories. Edit, change values based on a spreadsheet I've made. Didn't check the numbers until after I posted. Next story. Need boxes for moving or organizing? Don't ever buy a cardboard box, ever. Unless you need really big ones, I guess. Go to your local liquor store and ask for boxes. They'll happily give you as many as you'd like. And they're pretty sturdy since they're made to hold heavy objects. Next story. Ask your coworkers or neighbors if they'd like to have a used clothing swap or used anything, kitchen tools and craft supplies or other good swaps. It's sometimes tricky as folks are different shape sizes, but there's usually at least one person who shows up dying to give away a bunch of clothes. My coworkers and I even bring clothes from our partners and pick up items for our partners. Remember to respect and trust each other with sensitive issues like weight loss gain, pregnancy, etc., and by only bringing clean, good condition items. Next story. My wife and I went to one car like 5 years ago when we needed some cash fast for an unexpected expense. It's only a 4-mile ride to and from my office, so I figured I'd just deal with it and bike for a while. Turns out we have no real use for a second car 99 of the time, and the other one, basically if one of our kids gets sick in the middle of the day, just means my wife has to leave work early and work from home the rest of the day. We live in Florida, so I've been caught in my share of thunderstorms, but other than that, it's been pretty great. I get my cardio done for the day, save a ton of money, and most days I genuinely look forward to the mental clarity I get from a quick workout after work. Next story. I grew up in upper middle class family, but still was an Eagle Scout. But both my dad and wife grew up dirt poor. Here's what they've passed on to me, including my father-in-law. Honey and salt never go bad. Smoke any meat before it expires. Or be sure you have the ability to freeze it. Most canned food tastes okay, even in the 5-10 UR range. Don't throw out construction materials, especially older ones, especially older wood. But even still, any fastener can always be repurposed. Always take the sweeteners and bread rolls home from a dinner. Always have a stash of cash that could get you through the next week or two if something were to happen. Always stash a carton of cigarettes, grain liquor, and ammo away, as those are the most traded items in an economic collapse. Your most important resources are your neighbors, and make sure to treat them well. Physical labor for their needs goes the longest way. Keep seeds on hand for any produce that grows well in your area. Even easier if you keep seeds from the plants you've grown. I grow a lot of tomato, cucumber, peppers, etc. Recycle fats and greases. They can also be used for fuel. New Age One. Just solar generators can save your life. Keep a rifle, fishing pole, strong blade, and net around. These can be used in many different fashions, but are key for harvesting and capturing proteins. Shovel. You can create your own irrigation systems if done correctly. Be nice. Probably the top thing. My grandparents' generation wasn't called the greatest generation for no reason. Care for your fellow man, and it will eventually pay itself in multiple dividends. Get a dog if you don't have one. They feed off scraps and will protect you. Remember Maslow's rules. That model prioritizes survival. I understand I gave survivor type of instances, but when you're poor, you're always on that borderline. Next story. Thrift store appliances, furniture, and electronics. Recently picked up a pair of 2023 Samsung washer-dryer pair for $300, a AX Wi-Fi 6 Asus router 10, normally $160, and a 50 large sectional couch that would make JDV hot and bothered. Next story. I can eat the same dish for like 3-4 days for lunch and dinner without getting sick of it. No clue why people waste money cooking something new every day, lol. Next story. Reusing tea bags a couple times in a row, even if the tea isn't as concentrated. Freezing bread. Stuff algebra. Essentially, how many days of coffee at the nice cafe where I enjoy a quick chat would I have to skip to spend the same amount on X? Saving rubber bands, plastic bags, and gift wrap. Sleeping or tea through hunger when I am saving for something. Next story. I can't tolerate that much pasta anymore, but I used to make a variation of Hoover stew all the time. A large pot of that, some Parmesan cheese, and some homemade garlic bread, and you are eating for days. If you don't mind eating the same thing for dinner every night until it is gone. Next story. Find the auto mechanic that the working class folks go to, the one that will pass your inspection and not rip you off. They usually make plenty just from volume. Next story. Oats. If you can't buy a sack of potatoes at the end of the month, you might still be able to afford oats. Doesn't need energy to prepare. Just a bowl, oats, and water. A spoon is preferred. Dandelion leaves make a nice salad. Blossoms can be used to make jelly. Next story. I rip paper towels and napkins in half and only use one half. Unless it's greasy finger food and I'm forced to use a whole jerk napkin. Next story. Shop for your groceries online. You can stay within your budget every time. No impulse buying, and focus on whatever is on sale. And if you pick it up yourself, there's no delivery fee. Next story. Thrifting. We were a single-income household for a while with 3 kids. All of their clothes were secondhand. I still can't bring myself to spend $20 on a shirt, even though we could easily afford it now. Next story. Crack an egg into a pot of ramen at the end gourmet meal. VPNs are always cheaper than streaming services. That's about all I got. Next story. Google and Harbor Freight will fix nearly anything you own for practically nothing. Plus, you can then charge other people to fix theirs once you've learned on your own. Next story. Whenever I'd want a sweet treat growing up, we'd get bread with butter and pour sugar over it. It was the best quick dessert that I still have to this day. Next story. I just live the same. My wages have gone up, but I live the same. I have more money in my account each month than I currently need, so I just buy some shares with it. I just have really simple needs. I don't know why. It's also why I'm not rich either, though. I don't scramble for every dollar. Next story. Fast food lackeys don't care about how many condiments they give you. A 2-fry order at Arby's can get you 5 of mayo horseradish ketchup BBQ sauce. Those condiments have lots of calories. Lentils are healthier than grains and just as cheap and filling. Those store-made items go on sale like 30 minutes before close. Getting a roast chicken for $30 off, breaking it down, separating skin is OP. Next story. Getting stoned and going on 3-4 hour walks in the woods, listening to psychedelic folk music, eliminate roughly 3-4 hours of my day, and cost whatever little plant substance I find before said walk. Next story. Instead of going to a regular grocery store, I go to the U.S. Chef store for my lunch meat and whatnot. I then slice it myself and get a month to a month and a half of lunch meat for 45, 60 miles. Next story. Water distiller, doing my own oil changes, Salvation Army shopping, buying everything used, baking soda, coconut oil, toothpaste, turning off my water heater when I don't need hot water, turn it on 30 minutes before and off 30 minutes later, cut my electric bill in half. Mint Mobile is $240 annually for all data I need. TV projector is a home theater. Bought it used for $80 back in 2018 and still going strong. You can get free lotto tickets by scanning used ones from the garbage. Inversion table will save your back from surgery. Buy eggs local. They're better for you and taste better, not just cheaper. Next story. I think some folks are forgetting about the time aspect of being poor. It's not just making stuff cheap, but also making it easy so you can do it after working a 12-hour shift 3 days in a row. Rice and beans, both cheap, both keep a long time if you don't have time energy to cook. Both are basically set it on the stove with a timer running. If you have the energy to chop something, chop up an onion and celery to add to the mix. If you're feeling really bougie, you can even add spices. These days, I usually have time and energy for spices and the ability to pick less cheap veggies than onion and celery, but those four are often enough still my base. Next story. Before buying anything, leaving it in the cart for 24 hours. 99 of the time I realize I don't actually need it. That habit has saved me more money. Next story, reduce waste. If you have a rubber spatula, you can scrape 2-3 extra serving out of a peanut butter jar. Wash out the empty jar. You've got a storage container. Waste not, want not. Next story, homemade pico del gallo is a great way to make so many things healthier and taste fresher and fancier than they are. Beyond cheap to make, super easy, no cook, can hang out in the fridge for a week. Scrambled egg omelet? Throw some pico on that John. Plain turkey sandwich? Nah, now you got a sassy south-of-the-border turkey sandwich. Baked potato? No, my friend, patata al horno. Salad? You were halfway there when you made the salsa. Rice and beans again? Actually, burrito bowl. No energy left other than to open a bag of chips? Chips and salsa. Next story. I have many. Here are a few. I make sure all lights are turned off in any room I'm not in. I always wash things with the least amount of water flow I can get away with. When planning purchases of just about any kind, I shop around and compare and research to maximize every dollar. AI has helped with this somewhat. I keep technology years past their expiration date. My last smartphone, which I got used, could barely hold a charge anymore by the end. The only reason I'm still not using it is because someone got me a new one as a birthday present, which I still find obscene given how much they spent on it. Same goes for clothes. I still have and wear clothes I've had since I was in college. I'm in my 40s now. I have water bottles that are at least 15 years old, if not more. I patch holes in clothes, socks, whatever. I don't really know how to knit, but I know how to patch. I've stopped doing this as much, though. I self-built a computer about 13 years ago that I used up until a few months ago, and I only stopped using it because something internal died, likely the power supply, and a 250 mini PC was more than enough to surpass it both in size and power. But if it hadn't died, I would still be using it. I much prefer riding bike, staking, public transportation, walking, than driving a car, and did so for many years in a city people have long said is impossible not to have a car in. I did this not only to save money, but because driving is dangerous. I only stopped because I moved to a place where you truly can't get anywhere without a car in. It's too cold to bike, and public transportation is sketchy, though I still manage to walk as often as I can. I haven't had health insurance in about 10 years. I'm in fairly good health, exercise, and eat well, and have found that paying out of pocket during the few times I have needed to see a doctor to be far cheaper than any insurance. That being said, I know I can't keep this up forever. Haven't seen a dentist in almost a decade either. I could write a book. Next story. Meal prep and cooking in a fake away. When you get a craving for takeout, find out what you want to eat and then find a recipe for that online and make it at home. If you get really good at it, you can get things down to 4.0 per serve, or for cheap meals, 2.50 per serve instead of 15 to 20 per serve. If you eat out once a week, this ends up saving you 100s per month. Next story. I buy rotisserie chicken and can make several meals with it within 3 days. Chicken quesadilla or tacos, sandwiches, and make soup broth when done. Next story. Drink a pint of water and/or make rice to fill the tummy. 4 squares for the first poop wipe, then down to 3. Shop in a grocery store and eat at home whenever possible. Make coffee at home, etc. Pay bills on their due date. No early and no late. Don't carry a credit card balance. Ask for what you need. Next story. Bread. Some source of fat or protein is a complete meal. Originally, it was day-old bread, or bread they dumpster dove for, and mayo packets from my job at Jimmy John's. Now it's more like bread peanut butter, bread egg, bread olive oil and balsamic vinegar, grilled cheese sandwich, stuff like that. Also, rice and beans is a complete meal too. You can get dried beans to save even more money too. Just add seasonings and you're golden. Next story. The first time I got laid off and was on SNAP benefits, I started making big batches of burritos with mostly rice and beans and then freezing them for quick and easy lunches so I wasn't tempted to go out to eat. Those burritos have come in really handy even when I do have a job. Next story. Going vegetarian is the single biggest money-saving hack I have ever found. It's been 15 years since I've bought meat. Next story. Always check the library first. There's the normal stuff, books, movies, computer, printer, games. One of the most checked out thing at my library is a Wi-Fi hotspot. Some libraries have tools and tents, flyers for community events, free crafts and activities, free passes to local museums. Need to get out of the house where you don't have to spend money? Library. Next story. Shopping in my own pantry before I go to the store. Right before I absolutely have to go on a grocery run, I take inventory and try to make a meal out of what's already there. It sparks creativity and cuts down on food waste big time. Next story. I add 4 eggs to ramen right before it's done, so the eggs get soft-boiled and the yolk is still runny. Next story. Cook a whole chicken on the pellet smoker. Eat some of the meat that day. Take the carcass and put it into a crock pot with water and run on high overnight to make an incredible bone broth for the best homemade chicken soup. A $5 bird can feed you for days. Next story. Around Thanksgiving, I can get whole turkeys for 0.39 oil. I buy 3, 1 for Thanksgiving and 2 for later. I break them down myself. 1 turkey can be 9 meals for my family. Next story. Make your own vegetable stock with the veggie trimmings from throughout the week. Saves money on buying it at the store, and it can make bland food like lentils taste a little bit better. Don't be a slave to big broth. Next story. Utilities don't report late or low payments to credit agencies unless they get bad, and phone calls can buy you time. They also want disconnect service immediately or without notice. Simply having bigger numbers to work with allows you to keep floating things around until the next month, even if the numbers don't come out positive overall. Which sucks the vast majority of the time you don't have more funds than normal. But when you do get an influx, you can move money around which accounts are paid by how much and exactly when to keep heat off you a little longer. Next story. Coupons, but also everything you use to the fullest extent. Before you throw anything in the trash or pour it down the drain, ask yourself, is this thing truly used up? Common examples of overlooked things people throw away too early. Toothpaste, cut it open and be sure it is truly empty. If you use a paper towel, wipe up many surfaces and things, don't just use it for one thing. Ideally, use reusable rags instead. Many recipes suggest cutting off certain parts of the vegetable before using them as ingredients. Most of the time, it's because they don't taste as good. However, they are still very edible. In a similar vein, turn off everything you are not using to save power. Next story. Vat of dinner. 10 cups of rice, 10 pounds of chicken, 2 heads of broccoli. Boil that in a giant stock pot for 2 hours. Everything will liquefy. Let cool, then put in the fridge. Take out a few dividers if you have to. Let's face it, you don't have extra food to put there anyways. Scoop a chunk out to eat with soy sauce every day. Carbs, protein, and vegetables. It'll keep you alive and stoke your burning hatred for your current life. Next story. Get okay with repeating outfits. Since you're going to wear the same thing many times, it helps incentivize picking long-term style and comfort. Then all of a sudden you have a signature look, ease of getting dressed, and the knowledge you're going to be comfortable no matter what you put on that day. Next story. Buying older vehicles to avoid a car payment, full coverage insurance. I always try to do my own vehicle repairs if possible. Next story. Understand the difference between want and need, then have the self-discipline to exercise that knowledge. Next story. I still shake every last drop from the gas nozzle for sure. On a serious note, I still, to this day, layer my clothes in a way where everyone thinks I'm insane. I spent from the age of 17 literally freezing my butt off because we didn't have heat or electricity, and when you live in Michigan, you can't go without heat. We had a small barrel wood stove and nothing else. We would wake up to frost inside the house, so you had to tuck your shirt into pants into socks. Generally wearing 2 pairs of pants and 2 shirts and still teeth chattering, cold wandering if we were going to die. And now I have almost like an autistic type of sensitivity to cold and drafty clothing. Makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. Next story. Never eat out. If possible, Reasonable walk to the grocery store. Basically, if you can carry it, you need it. No backpack. Keeps you busy for a while walking, then slows down your shopping to must-haves only based on what you can carry. Next story. When returning to a parking garage, you have to pay a machine with a ticket to get out of. Take a new ticket on the way walking in, and then it will think you've been there less than 10 minutes and will let you out for free. Next story. Beans are cheap and really healthy for you. You'll still just have a can of beans for a meal or two every few days. Next story. Hanky in the back pocket. Also gets you out of a pinch when you're sitting in a public restroom and didn't realize there's no more toilet paper before you sat down. Next story. Started cutting my own and my two boys' hair around the start of COVID. Still do it to this day. The three of us used to cost around $100 every 6 weeks or so, sat the barbers. I'm still using the same set of 50 clippers I bought at the start. Next story. Have a budget for everything and have the strength to walk away when something doesn't fit your budget. Never buy something on loan unless it's a car or a house. The latest and greatest items on the market are also the most expensive. Go for one generation prior unless there's a specific feature you need in the latest version. Most paid software have open source alternatives. A temporary gym membership allows you to take a shower. Finally, when you do have some money, stash some in either gold, silver as a rainy day fund. Next story. Shop at grocery stores that give you the price per pound or ounce. What the store calls sales are just goods they need to get rid of. I also buy most of my clothes at second-hand stores. You get quality clothes that last for a decent price, and they fit because real people wore them, not just the store mannequins. Next story. Starve the garbage when you cook. Almost anything you chop will have some ends or rinds or whatever. Stick them into a bag in the freezer until you have a bunch, then boil with garlic, salt, pepper, maybe a little oil, and voila, broth. Next story. Add beans or an egg to a meal. Beans on toast with a fried egg gives you the protein and fiber plus fullness. Add a can of beans to veggies in a pot with a chicken bouillon cube, and you have a hearty stew. Add an egg to a cheap pack of ramen or stir-fry leftovers and top it with an egg. Delicious. Next story. I read Lillian Gish's autobiography in college. Pay cash or do without, she said. This was in response to seeing people lose money and goods buying on the newfangled installment plan in the very early 20th century. I still go by that rule for the most part, even though the credit score system penalizes you for it. Next story. My kids and I call them dumpster meat. Sometimes grocery stores will mark prices down a lot when the meat is near its sell-by date. Next story. I once got a t-shirt from a giveaway that fit me perfectly. I Googled the info on the tag and found the manufacturer. I could buy then for $6.50 each. I bought 20. Today I own custom tailored suits, but most days I'm wearing my t-shirts, which now cost about $10.50 each. Darn inflation. Next story. Time is money. When you're younger, you probably have less money, but at some point, you'll probably have less time, and so these hacks stay useful. 1. Learn to cook good food. Save up for a big freezer. Buy what's cheap. Cook and freeze in bulk. Also, exercise is free. Health pays dividends. Next story. When I was a single mom, I set aside $80 every month leading up to Black Friday. I absolutely dislike the idea of Black Friday, but there is always fantastic deals on flights. So once a year, I took my twins to a place within that budget, flew when prices were dirt cheap, only stayed a few nights, and in budget hotels. We always had a great time. Not exactly a poor hack, but I struggled fiercely during that season of my life, and I'm very proud to be able to have given that to my kids. Next story. I do many things, but number one is that I always look for things on sale. My eyes are blind to regularly priced items at this point. Speaking of eyes, do you need new glasses? Don't buy the frames at your eye doc's office. Take a photo of the style and size numbers inside the frames and Google those numbers. Guaranteed you can find the same frames for half price online. Your optometrist can still take the frames and fill the prescription, and insurance will often take the online receipt for reimbursement. Extra work, but worth the money you save. I don't know how Costco matches up on this, but I've saved a ton of money over the years by going this route. Next story. Don't buy food or coffee to go. Let's face it, it's shoot food for too much money. Just cook and prepare your own coffee. Next story. I still put water in the dish, soap, and shampoo bottles to get every last drop out. I just can't bring myself to throw it away when there's still bubbles left. Next story. Lots of people mention meal prep, but to add to this, get a food scale. Makes it super easy to portion things out and really know how much each meal costs. Next story. Only buy certain groceries or ingredients on sale. No, the menu won't be consistent, but it is significantly cheaper than buying the exact same thing as every store run. Next story. When shopping, use the store's app to scan the barcodes of what you're buying to check for coupons. For me, it's faster than scrolling through all the coupons. If it's a store that does price matching, you can also check to see if the online price is cheaper. I saved about $20 today while shopping in store on Cyber Monday and price matching the online-only deals. Next story. I now always put breakfast cereal in an airtight container along with pasta, flour sugar, bread, and whatever else looks tasty to a mouse brain. It's unpleasant to find mouse poop halfway through eating a bowl when you are a wee lad. I have a couple cats that let me live in their house, and they do a wonderful job of keeping little critters out, so it's really not an issue anymore, but I will always put it in a mouse-proof container. Next story. Not a hack in terms of saving money, but not being a cheap jerk with my friends. I never haggled over 58 when splitting the bill, always chipped in for gain-law, and brought something to the potluck, etc. And when I was crashing at friends' houses, when visiting, or when I moved to a new city, I'd always get groceries, cook some meals, and pitch in on chores. They are small things that show that I might be broke, but I'm not stingy, and I'm happy to chip in for the collective. And you get invited to hang out a lot more when you're seen as someone who isn't always only looking out for themselves. Having friends is important always, but maybe most of all when I was a bit down and out. Next story. 20 bag of rice. It lasted me 4 years. It's one I picked up from my mom. She likes to buy in bulk when she can because although it's really expensive in the short term, once you have it, you won't have to buy it for a while. And when it's something like rice, that basically doesn't go bad if stored correctly. If you put a protein in, like a hot dog or an egg, together with a vegetable like frozen broccoli, you basically have a full meal. If you have chicken, you can stretch it with the rice. You can stretch anything with rice. Next story. Make the life you want with what you have so you don't have to wait 40 years to earn your freedom. You don't need a 10K bike to go for a ride, a fancy car to drive somewhere, to sit in first class when you fly, to stay in upmarket hotels when you travel, to have tons of clothes when most people only wear a few things, or to have a job that will chain you to a desk, living a life of debt because you have something to prove. Next story. Was homeless in my city for a bit. I got really good at eating very cheap. I found the cheapest, most nutritional food I could find. Those items are still cheap. 150 samosas and 3 rice plus sesame sauce. One has many veggies and potatoes and is very filling. The other is straight carbs and sugar for energy. Then for cooking, I learned how to make broths from leftovers and really dived into preservation stuff. Freezing, natural preservatives like vinegar and lime juice, and canning. Getting a fishing rod and fishing license is also pretty handy if you're down with fish. Beyond that, I got really good at setting myself up to cover all my needs on payday. I mean, obviously pay your bills and such, but I have other methods. I have a list of items that I should have at all times. On payday, I go through the list and find out what I don't have and go get it. I always have a 150 grocery cart just to float myself for veggies and such. Anything beyond my bare necessities, I put away half of that for savings or directly to debts and consider week to week how much I need for fun money. Generally, it's about 60 a week. Next story. Learning to fix things rather than replace. Changing mentality of newer is better. You don't need the newest phone or watch. Next story. Like the way I will cut open a lotion bottle and suddenly have 3 more weeks of product? Elite behavior. Environmental queen and broke brain queen. Next story. Being frugal and still saving in retirement. I am not wealthy, but make more in retirement than I did working. Still can't bring myself not to save. My biggest fear has always been becoming homeless. That fear has not gone away in retirement. So saving first is my hack. Next story. Figure out the schedule of the butcher shop at the grocery store and show up when discounted expiring meats are put out. You'll have to cook it that day or the next, but sometimes you can get good cuts for 50 off. Next story. I cut my dryer sheets in half. The only load I have to add 2 half sheets to is towels. All other loads only need the half sheet. I gasp at the commercials that say to add 2 or even 3 full sheets. Next story. Lentils are cheap, a great source of protein, and super easy to flavor. Utilize the library. Take back everyone's cans to recycle for the deposit. I live in MI. Next story. Nor rice sides costs 1.25 can fill you for most of a day, especially if you eat half for lunch and half for dinner. I also lived nearly exclusively on tuna salad sandwiches and coffee for about a month. Once have to admit, it's not the worst way to live. Next story. Lentils. Stock up on lentils. You can swap the starch, rice, bread, flatbreads, and even pasta works for some larger beans. Next story. Dried beans, chickpeas, lentils, etc. are cheap and filling. Combined with brown rice, they're easy to soak and boil and very nutritious. Just add the spices of your choice and enjoy. If you live near a dollar store, you can buy food for a fraction of the price of supermarkets too. Next story. Inexpensive ground beef with taco seasoning, boil in bag rice, and 2 cans of corn. Mix in pot and serve with Tabasco sauce. Never knew what it was called, but Claude says taco rice skillet or Mexican rice skillet. Some families also refer to variations of this as cowboy dinner or trailer park casserole loel. Next story. This isn't really a hack, but my fiance always makes fun of me for the lengths I go to make sure I use up every bit of the toothpaste, including cutting the tube open. I picked this habit up when I was broke, and it has stuck even years later, even after my financial situation has changed. I know it is irrational, but I still do it. It's weird because I'm not strict with cutting cost outside of that. Next story. How to make egg drop soup like a restaurant. Easy, fast, and cheap. 12 worth of takeaway soup for 1 to 2 and as much egg as you like. Next story. Some hospitals, definitely not all, but some hospitals have outrageously cheap cafeterias in them. Near me is a semi-rural hospital with an emergency room. It has a cafeteria with a full grill in it. It's clearly designed for staff, but also open to all visitors. Last time I was there, I got a giant pile of French fries for $1.9 and a grilled cheese sandwich for $1.29. The fountain drink was free as long as you bring in your own cup. If you want to buy a cup, they are 1.0, so lunch or dinner is less than $2.50. A quarter mile away, the same basic meal at Burger King will set you back at least $15, and you get way less fries. Since I discovered this place, I've literally stopped in every rural hospital in the area, 5 more in all, and 4 had cafeterias, and 3 were fairly normally priced, and 1 was the same as my local one. Dirt cheap and really tasty. Next story. Packing snacks instead of grabbing quick snacks at a nearby drive-thru, also Costco. Burgers make good ground beef. Next story. Go to the grocery store and buy discounted meat and vegetables to 50 off. Cook same day or freeze the meat. Next story. In the Stalin years, my babushka said the food shortages during the war made her save every scrap she could. Somewhere in the 50s after the war, when God's gift to mankind invented Tupperware, she bought ones for all sorts of dishes. But she was so used to hard times, she always cooked borscht and ravioli, sometimes curing meat. Always ended up in the plastics and stored in refrigerator. Everything really she tried to save, but it wore off on my papishka, and then he passed it down to me. Now my house is always full of leftovers. Next story. Eat 1 meal a day. I've fallen on some rule of times in the past 2 years, so I save money on breakfast and lunch by just not eating Lowell. If I get hungry, I drink water or just wait it out. At this point, my body is used to that rhythm, so I'm never really hungry till about 7, 8 p.m. Next story. Learn to bake and learn to cook. I don't bake so much now since the ingredients are expensive, but knowing how to is so helpful. When you understand the fundamentals, it's so much easier to plan a grocery shop or make do with what you have if you need to. What flavors go together? What easy meals can you make, and how can you alter them? What ingredients are essential, and what can you skip? I spent a year living on 1 ramen pack a day because I only had 20 left over per paycheck after my rent, electric, and internet. I got a couple condiments like mayo and mustard, and I started collecting seasonings that I could use for many meals. Garlic powder, SP, dill, cumin, chili powder, paprika, Italian seasoning. Recently added onion powder, turmeric, garam masala, ginger, and bay leaves. Also highly recommend getting chicken and beef stock powder or concentrate. I have a handful more spices than this, but these are my mainstays. Once you have a stock of flavors, it's way easier. I can turn anything into a meal now. I take a lot of inspiration from Japanese and Indian cuisine because they are extremely creative with using same or similar ingredients to make different meals, and the ingredients tend to be cheaper. Rice, lentils, canned tomatoes, canned beans, frozen veggies are staples. I don't always have eggs because they're expensive here, but when I have them, my options are expanded for meals. They add creaminess and protein, and they're versatile for more than just a scrambled egg. I like egg drop soup since I can grow the green onions myself, and it's just stock spices and flour with the egg. Canned beans tomatoes can make a chili for under $5. And I normally add tofu, 3, which is cheaper than meat, 7, and I freeze the extras. Lentils add protein and fiber to any meal, and it's easy and cheap to throw frozen veg, potatoes and lentils in a pot and make a curry to serve over rice. You can throw chickpeas and lentils in a pot and cook it with spices and some water. If I'm lucky, I add coconut milk too. I also found canned chicken at the dollar store and 2 cans plus some frozen veg, frozen onions, chicken broth, and a homemade dumpling, handful of flour, bit of salt, sprinkle of baking powder, couple tablespoons of butter, milk to combine, makes an easy chicken and dumplings. I usually add sour cream or even milk directly to the pot to make it more creamy, but it's fine without. Learn to make sauces too. Pasta sauce and pan sauce if you cook meat. A good Alfredo sauce can be spiced however you desire to make a new meal. I like Cajun seasoning with honey and dill or garlic. Shakshuka is easy, and you can make it with canned tomatoes. If you don't mind it a bit watery, spices and eggs, and that's it. Basically, find a lot of meals you can make easily and alter easily that have similar or same ingredients and find a way to make them new saves heaps. My grocery budget now is about $50 a week, so much higher than when I first got this place. But I still fall back on cheap, versatile ingredients and spices to save money to spend elsewhere in my life. Plus, it feels awesome to dig through my cupboards and make a meal that's tasty and satisfying. And if I'm lucky, I can freeze some for later. Next story. Beans and rice on hand, a bag lasts forever. Also, combine them with any leftovers and make a protein bowl. Next story. Cutting open the last corner of a toothpaste tube. I still do it. If the apocalypse comes, you'll be the last person with minty fresh breath, huh? Next story. You can freeze bread and tortillas, then thaw or toast them when you're ready to use them. Cheese can be frozen too if you're just going to melt it. Back when I was scraping by in college, people often gave away bread, but I had to ration it so it would last longer than it would stay edible without freezing. Next story. Might be a European thing, but I find an empty beer soda can on my walk. I will most of the time pick it up to get the deposit back. If I get about $2.53 per month worth of it, it's worth it. Next story. I crocheted a little drawstring bag that hangs in my shower. I put all my little soap bits in there, and when it starts to get empty, I take the soap bar from the sink, put it in the bag, and get out a new bar for the sink. Zero waste. Next story. Whenever I'm looking for something expensive that I don't really need, I search for it in a broken state. I have a really fancy coffee machine that would normally make it stupid expensive per cup, but since it was a scary machine, no one wanted it, and I got it for retail. One tiny part, and it has been good for years. I could probably sell it today and get 10x what I paid. It's dumb, but I can look at that stupid robot machine now and think of it like a rescue and not an extravagance. Next story. Waiting until one day before a meat expires at some grocery stores will get you a 30-50 discount depending on the store and location. Aldi gives 50 off. If it's not already stickered, just tell them at the register the expiration date is within 24 hours and they'll discount it. Winn-Dixie does a 30 when asked and marks them sometimes. Publix sucks and doesn't ever discount even though I've asked multiple times. I have also gotten discounted bread, pizza, sausage, fish, chicken, and hamburgers at Aldi. No certain day is better as the food all have different expiry dates. I usually cook a big batch immediately to eat off of for a few days and put the rest in the freezer. Next story. Discount meat section. I live alone so I can get a nice steak dinner some nights for around $5 because the store needs to sell it that day. Next story. I don't care about holes or rips in my clothes. My wife points them out like I should stop wearing the shirt. But for me, it's a non-issue. Next story. When you make food, make more of it, as it's easier to prepare than smaller meals. Use leftovers for other meals. Cook large portions of pasta, lasagna, soups, casseroles you can eat for multiple meals, and reduce your daily cooking time. Stop buying cheap frozen meals, fast food, and learn to cook. Learn how much stuff actually costs when there is a sale and when there is a deal. For example, how much a pack of spaghetti costs. $3.99 retail, $2.79 sale, 4 for $5, then 10 for 10. Next story. Using as much of the ingredient as possible. Leaving the skin on potatoes and carrots. Tastes great. Growing simple things indoors. Never throw out food. Freeze it before it goes bad. Next story. Never letting the gas tank drop below half, even if I can afford it. That panic of almost running out taught me discipline. Next story. Buy secondhand clothing. Clothes are literally wear items. If I paid $150 for a shirt, I never wear it. If I paid $20 for the same nice shirt, it would be daily wear. Next story. Fasting is apparently healthy. I'll go 1 to 2 days with no food every month or two. Also feel like I'm saving a little cash too. Next story. Using things until they're actually broken instead of upgrading them just because. Phones, clothes, pans. If it still works, I'm not upgrading. Hard times taught me that, and honestly, it feels smart. Next story. Practically all the meat we eat is from a discount. Aside from the farm-to-table connection I have for beef, which is a special treat, all other meat products are bought when they're 30-50 off. Buying legumes in bulk. You can get pre-soaked beans in a can. They taste horrid, half the weight is liquids. They're usually boiled within an inch of their life to a mushy mess. For the price of a couple of cans, you can usually get a whole kg of dry beans or lentils. The tiny setback of, I have to plan what I'm cooking tomorrow today, is a small price to pay when you pay for better flavors and a fraction of the cost. Next story. Buying frozen veggies instead of fresh when money is tight. Way cheaper, zero waste, and they last forever in the freezer. I still do it now even though I could afford fresh because I throw out way less food and always have something decent to cook with. Next story. Tearing a dryer sheet in half. Been doing this for 15 years. Started when I was poor, and now that I live comfortably, I still do it. Answer. Better yet, get some wool dryer balls and stop buying dryer sheets. I stopped using dryer sheets after the waxy residue built up from them, ruined the moisture sensor in my dryer, and almost started a house fire. Saves me money and keeps my home safer. I also no longer get mysterious oil stains on my clothes that weren't there before I put them in the dryer. Next story. Dish detergent can be shampoo, conditioner can be lotion. Take a set of cutlery and napkins anytime you shop at a grocery store that has a dining area. Always pee when there's a bathroom available. Arrive early and look for free parking. U.S.-centric. Next story. 1/6 Oz tin tomato paste chili powder. Water mix. You now have spaghetti sauce. Add in a box of spaghetti and you have 2 meals. Half a tin of diced chicken or cut up a sausage or hot dog for protein. It ain't great, but it'll keep you going. Next story. Always buy a whole chicken. It's much cheaper per pound. Then at the end, boil the carcass with celery, onion, and carrots. Take it out and remove any meat back to the stock. Put in a bunch of rice and cook for a delicious soup. Next story. Find and use your local recreation center and other city or county-owned facilities, like pools, libraries, parks, etc. My city has about 6 rec centers that are just about as nice as a commercial gym, and they're totally free. This makes for good, healthy entertainment. Next story. I made dinner tonight for the family, and it was a mix of various leftovers. I felt good doing that. Also, I bought my daughter's Chipotle, and I came home and had an almond butter and jam sandwich. It was good, and I felt good about myself. Next story. When you get a windfall, like a disbursement or tax return or Christmas money from your rich uncle, use it to pay ahead your bills. There are certain bills you will be able to pay ahead. Here it was utilities and rent, and some that won't let you pay ahead. This does a couple of things. First of all, it prevents you from going on a spending spree. Second, and more importantly, frequently you won't qualify for public assistance if you have too much money in your bank account. So saving the money is a bad idea. You could lose your food stamps or daycare credits. You're essentially hiding the money in accounts they don't check. Next story. Planning out what bills can get skipped. Always prioritize housing and eating. I don't skip bills these days, but I still always make sure I get groceries before I do anything else. Next story. Buying a pack of 6 Italian sausages and a head of broccoli at the grocery store gives you 3 meals for around $2.20 each. If you have some rice to add, it's even better. Next story. Selling stuff I don't use or wear on eBay. It can add up. Made $200 the last couple of days selling sweaters I wasn't wearing. Next story. You have to be a Brit of the right vintage to get this one. But I did not have money in the mid-90s. I think there was a price war on beans for a while as you could buy them for 2p per can at Tesco. Bread and potatoes were also cheap, like 10p a loaf. I could eat dinner for well under 10p, like 10 USD, easy, with a can of beans on baked potato or on toast. Once in a while, I would splurge and get cheese or butter to go with it. I was eating the same stuff a lot, but I was spending under 5 pounds a week on food as every few weeks I would get meat. Seriously, 20 pounds a month for all meals. I have to admit I did splurge with a pints at the pub, but if it got beer calories, I would skip a meal. I was never so trim in my life. I still love jacket potato now, despite it being a meal out of necessity. Next story. Bulk ordering staple goods and non-perishables on Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Deodorant, toothpaste, paper towels, toilet paper, shampoo, conditioner, laundry detergents, dish detergents, etc. Up to a list of at least 20 items. Pasta, rice, beans, lentils, canned goods, ramen noodles, cereals, chips, flour, seasonings, sugar, salt, oil, etc. Again, up to a list of at least 20 items. Saved like 40% on everything. In stock most for a year, some for longer. Ordering concentrated formats of cleaners, soaps, degreasers, bleaches. If it can be repurposed for industrial, it can be rediluted for the more gentle use of residential. Sometimes these concentrates are so potent that 1 gallon equates to 50 gallons diluted or more. Buying unprocessed meats in bulk to be frozen poultry, beef, fish. Butcher it yourself if you can, and portion individually. Beef and poultry are relatively easy to do. Beef is forgiving. Poultry can simply be butterflied if breasts are ordered. Buy in 10-pound portions or more. Freeze them for a year. Pull out a portion and run in tap cold water for minutes. Unveil, prep, and cook. Got quite a bit more if this happens to get any curiosity. Next story. I used to go to a shooting range and pick up copper and sell it for scrap. It's a lot of work, but I paid my rent like this a few times. Next story. Picking up napkins and condiments in fast food stores. Saving plastic bags and paper bags for storage or for wrapping gifts. Saving Uesta bowls. When things break, you try to fix it before you toss it. Next story. Stretching leftovers into a new dish. Instead of just reheating them as is and using things until they actually die instead of replacing them early. Next story. Cut your kitchen sponges, even your scrub daddies, in half. They're easier to maneuver and you get double the use. Using a normal-sized sponge feels clunky to me now. Next story, 1,500 month. When married, 2 kids, pounds of partied, too hard food thrown out every week. Made my blood boil, 200 month. Now, just me and 2 kids, nothing partied too hard, plenty of food and healthier. With bonus of respecting food and not wasting. 100x better for them with less. Next story. Not a hack, but I got really good at making meals from just random shoot in my kitchen. Just mix shoot up in a pot and eat. Dried beans and everything. I'm not broke anymore, but I still cook like that sometimes. Egg, canned green beans, and sliced hot dogs, for example. All fried together. Don't get me wrong, I can afford to cook actual meals. But there's something about one-pot WTF meals. Next story. I still freeze leftover food in small portions. Saved me during tough days, and now it just keeps life easier and waste-free. Next story. Indomie, Goring Steel. One of my go-to snacks got me through uni, and now getting me through life. Haha. Next story. Red lentils, rice, and garden peas together is basically complete food, so I ate different combinations of the 3 and still do. I learned to make dal and lentil soup, both of which are very tasty, filling, last a long time, and quick to prep, and nearly as cheap as eating oats. I also got a food flask, so could take hot food out with me, which is a good saver at work out of the house. Next story. Realizing how little we actually need. Recognizing how so much of what we work so hard for and spend our money on is fake. Rex coning with much of the dead cycle that my life has been. It doesn't need to be fancy or expensive to be magnificent. Next story. Collect every cent, even if you look crazy bending down in a parking lot for a nickel. Save them in a jar for a rainy day. They add up. Next story. 52-week saving challenge, starting with £1, then the following week put by 2 pounds, then 3 pounds. You see where I'm going with this. At the end of the year, you'll have 1,378 quid saved by then of the year. Next story. I always, without fail, have no less than 10 boxes of off-brand mac and cheese in my cabinets. My husband's an engineer. I work full-time. We're not food insecure. I don't know why I'm stuck on mac and cheese. Next story. Continue to practice these when you're not as poor, saves for when things get worse, and keeps them in habit. Hopefully not into a complete lifestyle, though. I knew grandparents that were hoarders because of the Great Depression, and it passed on to their kids. Next story. Not really something that I still apply, but when times were lean back when I was young, I was pretty proud of this hack idea I developed for grocery shopping. Buttermilk, loaf of cheap, grocery store brand, whole wheat bread, mac and cheese boxes, however many. Cereal, breakfast, used cereal and milk. Toast for lunch, used bread and butter, also can be used for breakfast. Mac and cheese, using butter and milk, for dinner. A fully contained food Venn diagram that was usually less than 10 back in the days I used to have to use it. Next story. It's cheaper to live near work, even if you have to move, than it is to own a car. Like the joke from after 2008. QO, why did so many Americans end up living in their cars? Because they tried to keep their cars. Next story. I replaced expensive razors completely by switching to an old-school safety razor. 100 blades only cost me 20. Over the last 15 years, I've only spent 60 on razor blades. I can afford expensive Gillette X3 blades and all that, but I still use the old-school blades. Also, I use shaving soap instead of the canned stuff. Much cheaper. Next story. Almost nothing breaks completely. Parts fails, and they're usually cheap and expensive parts that are easy to replace. Next story. Download the grocery store app and sign up with your number. I buy items that get me double, triple points. Tomorrow, I'm getting a free rotisserie chicken, King Goods all on sale from Clip coupons. And I should make a pretty cheap chicken and dumplings tomorrow. Last Thanksgiving, my $300 bill got sliced in half because of couponing. I have the time to do it, though. Next story. Don't eat out. Seriously, it's absolutely diabolical how expensive fast food has gotten these days. Not even 10 years ago, it was the cheapest option for a meal. Now, I will always appreciate the phrase, "we have food at home." Believe me, making a cheeseburger or something from ingredients you buy at the store will be 10x better than anything McDonald's will serve you. Next story. Learn to prioritize and do without stuff. Being poor, you learn real quickly what is a priority and how much you can do without. I am not destitute today, but I still put off stuff and do without things all the time. Like I should have had a haircut 4 months ago. I just haven't gotten one. When I get money, I spend it on the top priorities, and I make sure I get the best quality I can, as I don't want to buy stuff again. Next story. Ketchup is expensive. Put the plastic bottle in a plastic grocery bag, top a bottle facing down, twist bag closed, and then whip it around it in a circle as fast as you can to get the very last of it to the top of the bottle. Also do this with anything else in a plastic bottle like dressing, sauces, or glass bottles, if you like to live on the edge and your plastic bags are strong. Next story. Instead of cooking a whole frozen pizza or buying smaller pizzas, I just break the frozen pizza in a piece I know I can eat and put the rest back in the plastic and box. I cook exactly how much I want and no waste. Next story. Not sure I would call this a poor person hack, but more a way for me to have complete control over my money and avoid overspending, etc. I have multiple saving accounts in my bank app, which every payday automatically spreads out my money across them all. 1. For bills. I always pay everything on the day I get paid, so I know everything is taken care of for that month. 2. Food. X amount of cash for the month for food. 3. Hobby. It's important to have something you enjoy, so I have an X amount every month for that. 4. Me luxuries. This is just a small amount every month to save up for stuff I want that are not essential, like games, books, gadgets, etc. 5. Long-term saving emergency. Money I never touch at all unless completely necessary. Next story. 2 words. Rotisserie chicken. Started eating it every day when I was at the lowest I ever was financially. And once things started picking up for me, that was the one habit I never changed. People don't realize how much money they're actually wasting per week just on food alone. Next story. My bag of rocks is my home gym system I made when I was 17 and couldn't go to the gym. To this day, I have a sturdy bag full of bricks and rocks and exercise with it, even though I probably don't need to. Next story. I cut my own hair with a dog hair clipper because they're 5 times cheaper than human hair clipper and the motor is more powerful. Next story. Stealing is much easier than many people think it is, especially if you don't have a conscience, or so I've heard. That's it for this video. Don't forget to support Vancher and my second channel, Vanchoose. See you soon.